Welcome to Plutus IAS. We have been continuing our NCERT series. So in our NCERT series we have this class 7th chapter, which is chapter number 4 air. I hope you must have taken a quick review of the previous chapters, and now we are going to revise the next chapter, which is chapter 4, and see which all terms are really important for the prelims point of view. So the first is the composition of atmosphere. What is the composition of atmosphere? We have been knowing that the atmosphere is made up of different amount of gases. Now these gases are nitrogen, oxygen and carbon dioxide, and there are many other gases which are present in a very small amount. Now talking about the percentage of all of them, 78% has been given to nitrogen, 21% to oxygen, 0.03 to carbon dioxide, 0.93 to argon and 0.04 to other gases. Oxygen, as we all know, that it's very important for the survival of the species, right, living beings. It's very important that oxygen should be maintained. Alright, carbon dioxide is the greenhouse gas which has been one of the factor for the climate change, right, and nitrogen is present in the maximum amount, which is 78%. Alright. So nitrogen directly from the air, bacteria that live on the soil and roots of the other plants take nitrogen from air and change in the form. So understand one thing, that nitrogen you cannot just take like that. For example, it has to be converted into different forms through the soil. Different bacteria will work on it, and then only you will be able to get the form of nitrogen. Oxygen is the second most plentiful gas in the air. Humans and animals take oxygen from the air as they breathe. Green plants produce oxygen. So how we are getting the oxygen? Oxygen is being obtained by the plants. Plants produce the oxygen. How? They release the oxygen and they take the carbon dioxide. Apart from that, the carbon dioxide is taken in the process of photosynthesis, right? So green plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis. Now carbon dioxide is another important gas. Green plants use carbon dioxide to make their food and release oxygen. This is what I have been explaining to you. Apart from that, now we will study the structure of atmosphere. How you have to study the structure of atmosphere? We have been knowing that there are different layers of atmosphere present over the surface of the earth. Now what is holding the atmosphere? It is the gravitational force which has been able to maintain the atmosphere around the earth. Apart from that, this layer is very significant from lot of perspective. The first layer that we are going to talk about is troposphere. This layer is important and it is having an average height of 13 km, right? The air we breathe exists here. Almost all weather phenomena like rainfall, fog, hailstorm occur in this layer. Now you can see a very important fact here. If you see in the graph, that it is decreasing. The temperature is decreasing. As we go above in the atmosphere, what is happening? The temperature is decreasing. How it is decreasing? Through some amount every 1 kilometer, right? So temperature will decrease as we move above in troposphere. Right? Now what about stratosphere? Stratosphere is important from a very important point because it has ozone, right? Ozone layer is protecting us from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. So in this manner, ozone is extremely important. There have been a hole detected in the ozone layer, and it has been a sort of worry for a lot of researchers, for a lot of people. Why? Reason being because any hole in the ozone layer tends to harm the humans, every species present on the surface of the earth. Why? Because ultraviolet rays will directly fall on the surface and it will make people vulnerable, right? So Above the atmosphere lies what? There is another layer, stratosphere. It extends up to how much? 50 kilometer. This layer is almost free from the clouds. It is very essential point that it is free from the clouds. Then one important feature is it contains ozone layer. Now next layer we have is mesosphere. This layer is the third layer of the atmosphere. It lies above the stratosphere. It extends up to the height of 80 kilometer. Now this one was 13. Now next is, which is stratosphere, is 50, but mesos is 80 kilometer. Meteoroids burn up, right? Meteoroids we have seen in the previous lecture also. Meteoroids burn up in this layer entering from the space. Now what about the next layer? We have a thermosphere. So thermosphere is here, right? And in the temperature rises very rapidly. See, the pattern of the increase and decrease is not same in every layer. In troposphere it is decreasing with every kilometer. In stratosphere it further increases. There is sharp twist in the graph. Now in the mesosphere it decreases again. Now in thermospheres it increases again, right? So this is how the pattern has been followed. So you have to also take care of the fact that in every layer how the temperature is changing. Okay, so increase the height, or ionosphere is a part of this layer. So ionosphere is the part of the thermosphere only. What is this? What is ionosphere? Ionosphere is the layer of charged particles. Charged particles or charged ions. This layer helps in a radio transmission. In fact, radio waves transmitted from the earth are reflected back to the earth by this layer. Extremely important. Which layer we are talking about? We are talking about this layer, which is thermosphere. Okay. Then the next is exosphere. Exosphere is the uppermost layer of the atmosphere known as exosphere. Exosphere, this layer has a very thin air and light gases like helium and hydrogen float into the space. Now next important fact that we have to cover is the weather and climate. Now what is the difference between weather and climate? When we talk about weather, we are talking about a particular area, very small area, which can have, for example, if we say the convectional rainfall. So this is a kind of a change in the weather it is going to create. Okay, but climate is the broader way. We are talking climate. When we talk about the climate, then we are taking care of a larger area. For example, if I say Delhi is getting rain, okay, in that case I am just talking about some convectional rain which has happened maybe because of the high heat which has been generated in particular area. So weather tends to change from place to place. Okay. Next is weather is hour to hour and day to day condition of the atmosphere. Okay, a hot and humid weather may make one irritable, a pleasant and breezy. This is a regular thing. Then the temperature. Temperature of the atmosphere changes not only between day and night but also from seasons to season. Summers are hotter than winters. An important factor that influences the distribution of the temperature is insolation. Now we need to understand two things. First, you need to do the difference between weather and climate. In this, as I told you, weather is a day-to-day phenomena, but climate is taking care of the larger area. For example, if I say the temperature of the whole Maharashtra is humid, and it is also having what? A breezy air. Why? Because it is nearer to the coastal region. Okay, in that case I can make such statements, but there could be some places particularly where, for example, Aurangabad, where the temperature is very, very high. Despite of making such statements, there could be a possibility that different regions must be having different weather because of different reasons, right? Now temperature. I have talked already why the temperature is getting changed. It is just because the insolation. What is insolation? Insolation is nothing but a incoming solar radiation. Okay, so temperature decreases in the same manner. I told you in troposphere the temperature will keep on decreasing, right? Next we are talking about the air pressure. What is air pressure? So as we go above in the altitudes in an elevated region, what will happen? If we are here, for example, I am at A point and this is B is at elevation, this is elevated point, and if the pressure I am feeling here is going to be more versus the pressure I am going to feel here. Why? Because the weight of the air I am experiencing here at A point is more than the weight of the air I am experiencing at the B point. So air pressure is what? It keeps on differing. It is defined as the pressure exerted by the weight of the air on earth's surface. As we go up the layers of atmosphere, the pressure falls quickly. The air pressure is highest at the sea level and decreases with the height. Horizontally, the distribution of air pressure is influenced by the temperature of air at a particular given place. Now talking about the wind, wind is another factor. The movement of air from high pressure to low. Always remember one thing, what is this high pressure and low pressure? First of all, understand this. High pressure is a region where the air is descending. What do you mean by air is descending? Where the air is coming down because it is not that heated up. So it is descending. Low pressure is an air where the air is rising up because it is heated up, right? And therefore it is going up in the atmosphere. So this is the area of low pressure, this is the area of high pressure. Wind always blows from high pressure to low pressure. This is a universal fact that it will always blow from high pressure to low pressure. So movement of air from high pressure to low is called wind. You can see wind at work as it blows dry leaves, etc. This is just an example that you can read from here, right? Based on the high pressure and low pressure, we have different belts, okay? So this is the permanent belt, seasonal winds, and local winds. Now first understand what are the permanent winds. These are the permanent winds which has been shown in this diagram. What are they? For example, if I talk about the equatorial low pressure, for the 7th, if you are reading this part only, in this you don't have to do this pressure belts in very much in detail, because in 11th class you already have to do it in detail under climatology. But for now, just remember the names, okay, and just remember the fact whether the equatorial is low or high. Just make sure that you are aware of this fact. So equatorial low pressure is low. Why it is low? The insolation is high here because of the sun rays. So this is what it is, having a very, very low pressure. So equatorial low pressure. Apart from that, we have subtropical high pressure. Okay, equatorial low pressure, subtropical high pressure, and then subpolar low pressure, polar high pressure. Understand this fact that the earth is divided into different pressure belts. Here at the equator we have equatorial low pressure. High pressure at subtropical is dynamically induced. It is a dynamically induced fact, right? Equatorial low pressure is thermally induced. Similarly, subpolar low pressure is also dynamically induced. This is, I am just referring you here for your guidance. So high pressure here is thermally induced. What do you mean by thermally and dynamically induced? Understand. So basically, even if the tropical high pressure is getting the light, it's getting the insolation from the sun, then also you will ask that why the low pressure is not here, why the high pressure has been written. It is because as we compare, as the air is just moving up, but it tends to descend at this layer, okay, it tends to descend at this layer. So you don't have to worry about the fact whether how it has been formed, because later on in chapter 11 we will do it in detail. For now just remember this, that which are dynamically and thermally induced, you have to just mug up this part at this level. Next is the trade winds and westerlies and easterlies are permanent winds. So these are the westerlies and easterly. If I talk about the trade winds, so there are trade winds which are coming from this area, okay, because this is a high pressure, this is a low pressure. I told you the wind blows from high pressure to low pressure. So this is a trade wind which is coming here, and also similarly in the southern hemisphere same pattern will be followed, okay. Westerlies is this, above that again high to low, and this is high to low, this is again polar easterlies. So this is how your permanent winds are there. Now seasonal winds, these winds are different in different season, and then we have the local winds. For example, you will have local winds such as your sea breeze, etc., Lu, which is also one of the example of the local winds. Now another important factor is your moisture. Now water evaporates from land in different bodies and it becomes water vapor. Moisture in the air at any time is known as humidity. Why moisture is important? Because it is the ultimate source of the rainfall or precipitation at any area. When the evaporation will happen from a place, then it will, as it moves up, the temperature of it will decrease and it tends to fall. So when the air is full of water vapor, we call it a humid day. As the air gets warmer, its capacity to hold the water vapor increases. Please, very important point it is that as the air gets warmer, its capacity to hold the water vapor increases. So it becomes more and more humid. So on a humid day, clothes takes longer to dry. This we know already. So when water vaporizes, it start cooling, the water vapor condense, and this is the process which we call it as condensation. Condense, causing the formation of droplets. Clouds are just masses of such water droplets, and droplets of water become heavy to float in the air and they become precipitation. Okay, so precipitation that comes down to the earth in a liquid form is known as rain. They can also come in different form also, right? It could be the hailstorm, etc. These are also the form of that snow. Okay, that's all. So you can practice the back exercise question also of this chapter, which is going to be very helpful in the understanding of it. Thank you so much.